Hello and welcome to another segment of Interviews That Matter. I'm your host Raj Mehta. Friends, in this segment, we bring those guests who influence our lives. This includes elected officials, policymakers, heads of major organizations, and other dignitaries. It is my sincere hope that the knowledge brought in by these individuals or this guest will help our community. Today, our guest is Senator Jack Martins, who represents 7th District in the state of New York. 7th District represents many of our South Asian population. And Senator is running for election in November. This will be his second term. Let's meet Senator Martins. Senator, welcome to the show, sir. Thank you so much for taking time to come here.
It's great to be here.
Really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Senator, first question, I'm very curious that how did you get started in politics and who was your mentor? Because as your parents were immigrated here, and what inspired you?
Well, my dad had one rule in our household growing up, that if something made you upset or you were concerned about something, rather than complain about it, you better be prepared to do something about it.
Wow, okay.
And so if you feel strongly enough about something, and we all do in our daily lives, whether it's government operations, how government influences and impacts us. When you're talking about my start in village government, the impact was direct. Are we heading in the right direction? Well, my parents moved to Mineola when I was 3.
Oh, okay.
I've been there for 42 years.
Wow, okay.
My wife and I, after...
So now we know your age.
Yes, you do. And after we got married, we bought our house in Mineola, and that's my community. I know people, they know me, they watch out for my children, right. I watch out for theirs. It's a wonderful community to live in. But there's also a commitment there that if you do see something that you perhaps think may not necessarily be heading in the right direction, I do think we have an obligation to get involved and to try and make a difference.
So that inspired you?
That was my inspiration. In Mineola, there were certain things that were of concern. So I ran for trustee in 2002 and won, and ran for mayor in 2003 against a gentleman who was a friend of mine for many years, and had been there for about 10 years. And I thought, again, the village was heading in the wrong direction, so I ran against him and won, and had the privilege of serving as mayor in Mineola from 2003, was reelected in 2005 and 2007 and in 2009, before being elected to the Senate in 2010.
That was also first time, right? You ran as a senator.
First time, 2010.
So you have a hat trick. First time you ran and you won 3 times.
Well, I also have learned from my experience. I had also run for Congress in 2008, and lost. And so you do learn from your experiences, and I think they're as valuable, although certainly more difficult to take. But sometimes you do need to take a step back before you can take a step forward.
Agree, right. Now you are the senator for 7th District.
I do. I represent the 7th Senatorial District, which is my home village of Mineola. Okay. Includes everything from the city line, so from the Queens border, Floral Park, Lake Success, Great Neck, Manhasset, Port Washington, Roslyn, parts of Old Westbury, Hicksville, Westbury, Newcastle, Carl Place, Stewart Manor, New Hyde Park, Herricks, down through Elmont. So it's a rather large area, about 320,000 people. Wow. It's a wonderful district. You have everything. And the idea of living so close to the city and all of the pressures that requires. We are a commuter community for the most part. A lot of people have jobs in New York City and they commute into the city. But we are still suburbia, and we all love to live in our suburban communities and tree-lined blocks, and preserving our quality of life is a priority. So it's wonderful schools, wonderful communities, wonderful people. I'm truly blessed.
You basically, Senator Balboni was before, right? 7th District Senator.
7th District. Immediately before me was Senator Johnson.
Right.
And then immediately before him was Senator Balboni for many years.
For many years,
you know, I think it's quite a legacy. If you go back even before Mike, you had Senator Tully. Which, you know, again, tremendous legacy. And these were statesmen, people who were not only politicians but elected officials who cared about the community and, you know, had spent time. Mike Tully had served as a supervisor of the town of North Hempstead before going to the state senate.
That's right.
Michael Balboni had served as an assemblyman for many years before going to the state senate. Craig Johnson had served as a member of the legislature, county legislature, for years before going to the state senate. So, you know, each in his own way had deep roots in the community and had the best interest in the community at hand.
Now, I know Senator Balboni is a very, you know, focused and very dedicated person.
Absolutely. Still a dear friend, and very happy to call him a friend.
So what is the difference being mayor of Mineola, a small place, versus the whole, you know, representing more than 315,000 people?
It is a difference. You know, a mayor, you're an executive. As an executive, you come up with a plan, you have an approach to it, and you mobilize your resources to get things done. As a legislator, I'm one of 62 senators. Right. And the ability to build consensus and to try and build consensus around different ideas is certainly different. Not better, but certainly different. I'm reminded by some of my colleagues in Albany that I'm no longer an executive, so I can't tell them what to do. Right. But what I can do is try and build consensus. And you know, Raj, I think it's important that we remember, especially here on Long Island, the whole world is not like Nassau County. Right. We have 19 million people who live in New York State. 19 million. And if you consider the idea of bringing together different people with different interests and building that consensus. So people from Buffalo, people from the far north, Lake Placid, Albany, Binghamton, even people from New York City, as close as they are to us, have a different worldview and different interests. And we have to understand where they're coming from. Things that sometimes seem to make all the sense in the world to us, coming from our suburban communities here in Nassau County, are very difficult to interpret when you're talking to people who don't necessarily have that same view. And so that's part of the challenge when we go to Albany, is how do we convince our colleagues from different parts of the state that may not necessarily see the world the same way to work together and have them understand the merits of a certain piece of legislation. The good negotiating skills. Oh, it's all about negotiating skills and frankly also taking the time to understand that other person's perspective, because you're not going to convince somebody unless you understand where they're coming from as well. Right. Yeah, I know it's a lot of discussions and debates and all that. Sure. And frankly, a lot of sometimes not getting everything you want. You know, we and certainly I have voted for legislation that may not have been 100% what I wanted, but there was enough good stuff in there for the residents that I represent, for the taxpayers in my district, where out of compromise, yes, we voted for it and we supported it, because I'd rather take, as they say, I'd rather take something than nothing. Half a loaf than no loaf. Than no loaf, right. I agree. So this is, I mean, you're running again in November for the second term, right? I am running for re-election in November. Re-election, okay. So what was your most accomplishment in first term? Well, I've had the privilege of chairing the Senate Committee on Local Governments. Coming from a local government background, I think that not only was it a great fit, it certainly is something that I understand very well. Working with villages, towns, counties, fire districts, water districts, library districts, school districts, to craft legislation that's important to them. So we have carried and have taken the point on legislation important to our local communities, whether it's voting machines, for local elections, whether it's the tax cap and the impact on our local communities and taxpayers, whether it's mandate relief in the form of the state takeover of Medicaid increases over the years, saving literally billions of dollars statewide to our counties and in turn to our local taxpayers. These are initiatives that we've done over the last 2 years that are significant, very significant, and frankly, they're initiatives that were very much a part of our local government committee. I also have the privilege of sitting on the Labor Committee, Insurance Committee, Pensions and Social Services Committees, which again allows us opportunities to discuss issues not only statewide but also issues that are relevant to our communities locally.
You know, Senator, you are considered as a rising star in the Senate.
I appreciate
that. Can you comment on that?
Well, I think it's a product of our work product, our work ethic that we bring to the job. I didn't go into this job expecting to know everything. I did go into the job expecting to listen, and to build the relationships that I need to in order to get things done. And I think we've done that. I mean, one of the statistics that stands out this year is that we had 23 bills that passed, that I sponsored, that passed.
In first term?
Well, just this year.
This year? Wow.
That passed the Senate and the Assembly.
Wow.
Which was more than any other senator on Long Island. So for a first term, second year, 23 bills that passed both houses shows that not only, I think, are we working hard for our constituents, we're working across the aisle to build consensus. We're working with members of the Assembly to build consensus in their house as well. I think it speaks volumes for how far we've come in the first term. Last year we had 16 bills that we sponsored that was signed into law by the governor.
Okay.
This year I'm hoping that we'll have all 23.
Wow.
Shouldn't have a reason to veto anything. So if the governor is listening, hopefully he gets the message. But this is what we do. It's great government, and I've had the opportunity to partner with members of the Assembly, whether it's my own Assemblywoman Michelle Schimmel, or whether it's Chuck Levine or other members there, Harvey Wiesenberg. We have a great working relationship, and I think that we've had a lot of success. We also have a lot of challenges ahead of us. As we go forward, when you talk about things like mandate relief and the ability to get government out of the way and allow small businesses to succeed and allow our local governments to succeed, I think that's very important. I I was appointed to sit on the Governor's Mandate Relief Council, as well as on the Long Island Regional Economic Development Council as the Senate representative. Those are priorities as we go forward. We all know we're in a tough economic crisis. So how do we work together to get things done? Raj, there's a point I think that's important. I think everyone understands. If there's one downside to over-intrusive state government, is the belief by some in Albany that they have the answers to everyone's problems. The idea that somehow they can paint with a broad brush and somehow we will all benefit from having one rule apply statewide. But as I said before, our circumstances here in Nassau County are different than other parts of the state. We have to rely on our local governments and give them the flexibility to address the needs that they have locally.
So Governor, Cuomo had indicated of consolidation of various governments, like a lot of small districts and this and that. What do you think of that then?
Well, I got to tell you, I'm a little concerned about his concept of consolidation, although I do think that we'll all benefit from consolidating government services. And I think that's really where we need to go. The idea of two school districts somehow merging and creating one school district isn't going to happen in the real world. But the idea of school districts working together and consolidating their functions so that they can have symmetry,
right,
savings, and
yeah.
save taxpayer money, I think amounts to the same thing.
Yeah.
We identify ourselves with our local school districts and our local communities, and the natural reluctance of people to disassociate themselves from the school district that is such an important part of identifying their local community. We don't need to go that route. There's a lot of emotional trauma associated with that.
Right, yes.
What we can do is provide mechanisms where school districts can share services, whether it's IT, whether it's busing, whether it's really a number of different things, special education. There are so many different ways that if we, and frankly, if the state would just get out of the way and allow those local communities to work together without putting up obstacles, we'd be better off.
Right. I agree with you. I mean, it's very highly unlikely to happen, like consolidating total. But underneath that, you can do a lot of things together. A
lot of things that will not only be positive, will continue to provide the wonderful education. And let's remember, when you talk about my district, you're also talking about some of the greatest schools in the country, if not the world. These are school districts that are exceptional. They can share resources and continue to provide that same quality education. So it's a win-win. Not only do they continue to provide great education to our kids, but the taxpayers get the benefit of that streamlined service.
Actually, we have proposed to bosses here about the shared government services portal. Anyway,
it's a whole
I think
run.
it makes sense.
It really does. And the currency of this century is information.
Right, exactly.
The ability to share information, the facility within which we can transfer information amongst ourselves, and the ability then to relay that information in a cohesive or concise way to our children or to someone else. Is going to determine how successful we are as we meet the challenges going forward. So I agree with you. Information portals, similar to, there are examples out there. What they did with the intranet up in Great Neck was a wonderful example, and things that should be replicated.
Right. Senator, we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back.
Absolutely.
Please stay with us. Welcome back, Senator.
Great to be here.
Now, viewers of our show is mostly South Asian, people from South Asia. And obviously, 7 district is a huge population of South Asians in your district.
Absolutely.
You must have met a lot of people from our community, and I wanted to know your opinion on our community and what their contribution in this district.
Well, when I have met,
I'm also from your district.
I do understand that. I must tell you that as the son of immigrants that came to this country in the early '60s, growing up in a household where English was not my first language, and where my parents came and worked hard. My dad in construction, my mom as a seamstress. Eventually, Dad opened up, started his own construction company, and he has been successful there. I feel a tremendous affinity with the community as well. It is the American dream that we came for. It is the idea that we're going to provide better lives for ourselves and for our children going forward, and the ability to create something out of nothing. Creating jobs, creating businesses, that entrepreneurial spirit. So if you ask, what are the contributions? Just look around. Everything from small business growth, technology, success in schools. Some of our greatest scholars coming out of our high schools are South Asian, and I think that's a testament to the community, the priorities that the community has set, and the parameters, and I'm not going to say the pressure that is placed on our students going forward, but that's also important. They need guidance, they need direction, and they need to know that schooling matters, and we have placed a priority on education as a means of getting ahead in this country, and certainly you see that as well.
Good, good. I'm happy to hear that. And I mean, I know that recently there was the first India Day parade in Long Island.
In Hicksville.
In Hicksville, and you visited that. And I want to know your reaction. How did you feel about it? You know, I mean, I felt great, obviously.
I got to tell you, I felt great. The number of people who came out, participated, marched, it was beautiful. It was very hot too, as you know. But
right.
What a wonderful experience, an opportunity to celebrate that which makes us different,
right.
yet makes us the same.
Mm-hmm.
We are
mm-hmm.
a country that relies on immigration.
Right.
And we have to remember that as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Our communities are a melting pot and have to continue to be a melting pot. And we have to provide the opportunities for people to continue to come, provide their know-how,
mm-hmm.
their work ethic, and continue to move us forward. Again, my ethnic background is Portuguese.
Right.
I am very much in tune with my own ethnic
mm-hmm.
background, culture,
mm-hmm.
and language,
mm-hmm.
and I think it's very important that we all remember two things. Mm-hmm. We don't forget where we come from,
right?
But we also remember where we are, and so we remember our roots. We
right.
remember the culture.
Right.
We remember all of those things that are who we are,
right?
Culturally,
right.
But we also remember that we're here. We have an obligation to assimilate,
right.
to vote,
right.
to participate,
right.
And this is home. But we can't forget where we came from.
Very rightly said. And you know what? I want to congratulate the organizers of First India Day Parade. They've done a tremendous job in organizing this, and a lot of hard work for that. So my congratulations to organizers of
all of the
Day
organizers.
Parade.
Absolutely.
Yep.
You know, it was
Great.
a yeoman's job.
Yes.
Watching
yes.
and watching them pull it together.
Right.
It doesn't happen by accident. It doesn't happen.
A lot of hard work.
A lot of hard work, and you're absolutely right.
2 months.
Congratulations are certainly in order.
Right, right. Yes, yes. Senator, I have read your articles in publications about the biggest issue, which kind of doesn't affect us here in Long Island, but indirectly it affects us. Like for hydrofracking.
Oh, sure.
Now. Sure. Can you explain what is hydrofracking?
Well, it's a process whereby energy companies, in this case natural gas,
mm-hmm.
will drill vertically mm-hmm. and then drill horizontally mm-hmm. Along certain strata mm-hmm. in areas of upstate New York, along the southern tier around Binghamton, mm-hmm. along the Pennsylvania border. Mm-hmm. There are huge deposits of natural gas trapped in shale formations, approximately 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 feet below the surface.
Oh, okay.
And so the process involves drilling down to that level mm-hmm. and then drilling horizontally to release the natural gas that is stuck or captured within the shale, and then recoup that natural gas for everyday use. Okay. So it's a long process.
Right.
It's a very difficult process. Part of the process involves using toxic chemicals that is sent down into the hole to release the natural gas.
Oh, okay.
And the concerns naturally are, what are the consequences to the environment of these toxic substances?
Right.
What are the consequences to our water from these toxic substances? And how do we protect our aquifers? And water consumption obviously has to be a priority. They aren't making any more water.
Right.
The water that's on this planet is the water that is going to continue to be on this planet, and it's our responsibility to make sure that we keep it safe and we protect it.
Right.
I think that there are certain things that are intergenerational responsibilities. One is the environment. We certainly have an obligation to make sure that we leave this world in as good a place for our children as we found it.
Right.
I have a saying that I use often, that a society grows great when old men plant trees beneath which they know they will never sit.
Wow.
So if we think about that for a second, that's government. Our responsibility is to look at the world and make sure that we leave a better place for our children. We make decisions not only that are important today, that are not going to have negative consequences for them down the road.
Right.
So when we talk about things like debt, When we talk about things like economic recoveries and the immediacy or long-term recoveries, and then we look at government policies that push obligations forward, we do have an intergenerational responsibility to do the right thing. The same ideas and the same choices that we make in our daily lives as a small business owner, as a husband, as a father. These are responsibilities that I take in my daily life. We have to take those same considerations when we decide on government policy. And I think that's really the challenge, because all too often people don't. The money will come from somewhere, not realizing that the money is actually coming from our children's pockets down the road.
Wow, yes, that agree. So you are your views are against hydrofracking?
I have my concerns about hydrofracking. I have certainly voiced significant concerns about it. I know that the DEC and the governor's office are in the process of responding not only to questions but also preparing a report. Frankly, I don't believe that report should have been finalized as it's projected to while the legislature is out of session, and they should have had the ability to have legislative oversight before they make these decisions. Because if there is an economic benefit, and look, hydrofracking is taking place all over the country, all over the world, and there are consequences to doing it. There are places where it has not been done right, and there have been environmental disasters. We don't have to look too far. There are areas of Pennsylvania that have been negatively impacted as a result of hydrofracking. There are areas where hydrofracking is being done successfully and appropriately. So let's make sure that if we are going to do it, that all of the safeguards are in place, that we have protected our environment, that we've protected our water, and if we cannot do it safely, then let's not do it. Because until we can do it safely, that gas isn't going anywhere.
That's right. Exactly.
It's not going anywhere.
It's still there. It's going to be there.
And so if science reaches a point where we can safely and in an environmentally safe way remove that natural gas, then we should do it. But until we're sure that we can do it safely, then we shouldn't.
Now, in our community, we are very smart young people.
Yes, you do.
Obviously, I mean, I know many of them, and they are like really smart. I mean, our school districts are great, as you mentioned before, and they are very competitive, and they all do very well in their life. But I want to find out from your office that is there something that you can, like for example, internship. They may be interested in internship. They may be interested in some kind of involvement, rather. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So we can, we want to get some guidance from your office.
Well, thank you for that. We do have internships. We do provide internships not only during the summer but throughout the year if your schedule permits, usually college students, but during the summer we have a number of interns right now in the office from throughout the district, from all backgrounds, who are helping us out in the office, hopefully learning a little bit about state government, about legislation, about constituent service, and by all means, if anyone is interested, please reach out to us. We get those requests year-round, and I think it's a testament not only to the great district we have, but if we were to show you the young men and women who have committed to interning in our office over the last couple of years, what remarkable young men and women. At least we know that our state will be in good hands, because if this is a reflection on the future that we have, these young men and women are truly gifted, many of them brilliant, and certainly all of them have an interest in helping others. And isn't that what this is all about?
Absolutely, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, 100%. Raj, I often wonder, what distinguishes us here in suburban communities from urban areas? And if you look at Nassau County, if you look at the volunteerism we have, whether it's our volunteer firefighters, whether it's our coaches for our little leagues or soccer camps, these are people who volunteer not only for their own children, but for other people's children as well. For our emergency services and firefighters, these are people who volunteer to get up in the middle of the night to go running into fires when everyone else is running away. that's the backbone of our communities. And the public service that comes with that, and the community service that comes with that, you see that in our kids today.
Right.
And so if you consider where we are and the concerns we have about the future of our communities, the future of our state, knowing that we have, committed young men and women like this, not only committed to their communities, but truly gifted, it is inspiring.
Good.
We know we're on the right track.
Thank you, thank you. Senator, final message for the viewers, please.
Well, I got to tell you, and I'll go back to the India Day Parade.
Right.
What a wonderful opportunity. You saw, at least I saw, all aspects of the Indian community, the South Asian community, the opportunity to come together in a way that, frankly, reflects not only our priorities in life, our commitment to our local communities. The fact that we're doing it here means not only do we have, remember those two elements I spoke of, pride in our roots, we're remembering them, we're celebrating our roots, but we're also remembering that we're here. And we had elected officials from all walks of life, from state officials to county officials and local officials that were there celebrating with you. And that's a testament of the hard work of the local community and the people who coordinated the event. A wonderful event. And certainly, as I've told everyone and I'll continue to say, I am a resource. My office is a resource. And so if there's anything we can do for you, for your families, that's why we're here. Feel free to reach out to our office for anything.
Thank you so much, Senator. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. If you have any questions, comments, you can email me at rajem@itv.com. rajem@gmail.com. I'm sorry, rajem@gmail.com. Again, it's rajem@gmail.com. Until next time, see you. Thank you.